Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. Before we start, just a quick disclaimer, everything I discuss on this video is for educational purpose only, not a financial advice. All right, so that being said, let's start with the today's recap. A lot to discuss today. There is so much going on in the pre-market, so many upgrades, so many downgrades, so many tickers, and morning pops and drops. So I'm going to teach about few important concepts that we use daily: morning 9:30 concepts, 10 a.m. concept, midday call concepts, 512 calls concept. So we're going to focus on those things today, and so follow through. And but before I do that, just a quick introduction to anybody who's new to our X accounts, new to my YouTube, or new to our community. So we trade a repeatable system called Ripster EMA Cloud system, which is not only the indicators but all the concepts that I teach day in day out. Thousands of traders around the world use the system of Ripster EMA Cloud system and the concepts to trade consistently. We use this system day in day out. If you are day trading, swing trading, anything we do is based upon a system. This is a repeatable system. System is how you trade, setup is what you trade, and we trade repeatable setups. We do not trade anything random. If our system gives us a setup, we follow it. It gives us the risk management. It tells us what setups to take. So every morning, me and my team, we create a pre-market plan for the community, which I often tweet out as well for my followers on X. We make a pre-market plan based upon the news, based upon index stocks, upgrades, downgrades, and we highlight the main tickers that we're going to focus on. So a lot of these, we make a pre-market plan. We have a support levels, we have resistance levels. Recently, we started adding MTF in MTF as well in the pre-market, because MTF Ripster Clouds is a big part of what we use. And I also did some shorts yesterday on MTF Clouds. You can go there and watch it. So we make that plan. You can see that there's a bunch of tickers on our plan today. I do highlight anything in red, which is more important setup for me. I make it red, and we'll see how all those worked out. We will some of them I trade, some of them I don't. Mostly I guide everything. Even if I'm not trading, I guide everything to my traders, and everything will not trigger. We will look at the something which triggers, and we'll focus on those. So today there's so much going on. So what we did was we separated our upgrade and downgrades. So there was a bunch of upgrade and downgrades stocks. We'll take a look at them as well. But we provide all this information to our traders in the pre-market. We also provide levels for the index stocks called my daily levels: SPY, QQQ, IWM, Netflix, Boeing, Amazon, Meta. We have the levels of these every day provided to the traders in the pre-market to find the resistance levels. We also provide the levels for crypto stock. We use the Ripster Clouds to trade those. We will discuss coin and MSTR midday setups today. In addition to that, we also trade futures. Futures, there was a nice trade on futures in the midday. We will talk about those calls. There was morning 9:30 to 10 a.m. trades. We will discuss those. In addition to that, we also trade low floats, IPOs. We try to find opportunities everywhere because the system works for all. And we also have our day-to-day 3 repeatable strategy that we trade. So we are one of the largest trading communities online, one of the biggest trading communities online. Educational focused trading, which we are not a signal service, not an alert service. We do not spoon feed traders alerts, but we teach this system, and also I try to guide. I'm on the voice first few hours of the market open, and thousands of traders are on our trading floor trading the system all day long, finding opportunities to trade. So anybody who joins my community new, I make sure they know my education. They have been learning from my education for a few years, and so they're ready to come in the community and trade. We have a lot of tools in the community. We have 3 option flow scanners free. We have stock scanners, breaking news alerts, halts, unhalts, order flow, breaking news, squawk, audio squawk, scanner, audio stock alerts. So we have a lot of those tools which are worth $500, $600 a month that we use in community. So we work as a community where we try to find success in the market, keeping our losers small, our winners big. All right, so that was the introduction. So I will show you, we will discuss the setups from our game plan, any setups I guided, anything our traders were trading in the community, and we will look at those this live guidance and how you can use it. You don't have to be in community, but how you can learn these setups yourself and you can trade it. So let's start the recap. So alright guys, so let's start with SPY QQQ today. So what was different on SPY QQQ today than what it was yesterday? So today we went inside out of the yesterday. Okay, so inside yesterday was inside candle, but we were not inside candle, at least from the yesterday's candle. We were trading outside of yesterday's candle. All right, so let's look at the plan in the pre-market. What was our plan on SPY QQQ and how did we try to trade that? So the plan was simple. If VIX breaks 16 or 1610 or doesn't bounce, either of those three criteria, we will long the market over yesterday highs. I also said watch the Magnificent Seven and strong sectors. Amateur move, which is our first 10 to 15 minutes move, 10 a.m. concept, and watch the Monday highs, right? So today's Wednesday, so we want to watch the Monday's highs. I will show you why and how that helped us to manage our trade. So let's take a look. So right away, as soon as the market opened, it was bullish. Market was bullish. So let's just focus on SPY here, and I'm going to put QQQ here, and I'm show you both of those. So let's see here what happened. So as soon as the market opened, you see SPY breakout, right? So there was the amateur move. You can long it, but you need to understand the amateur moves. You know, it was definitely long. It was definitely bullish move out of the gate on the amateur move, and that amateur move on SPY ran from 622 to 623, right? What was VIX doing at that point? Let's take a look. So VIX at that point, when we open in the morning, let's take a look. It was not really doing any bounce. It was sticking around that under 16, right? You see this? It was right under 16. So that way we could still. So on that move, you know, the SPY ran, and once I saw that we are holding the price, I gave the target of Monday highs. Why did I give the target of Monday highs, right? The reason I gave the target of Monday highs was we were already outside yesterday's highs. We were already trading over it, so that made sense because that was a daily resistance, right? So the daily resistance made sense as our target for Monday highs, right? That's a daily chart. So that's the target I gave on the Monday highs to the traders because I knew we were gonna push. I told them at 9:41, you see that I told them hold them longs. I said hold them longs into 10 a.m. 10 more minutes, hold it. Now we push. I gave the target 624.60 on SPY, 624.60 right here. Where did I find to 624.560? I found the target from the Monday pre-market highs. You see that? And the target I gave on QQQ was 557.20. And those targets I gave 15 minutes before we even hit that. And by 10 a.m. we hit that, our target. So now here comes our 10 a.m. repeatable concept. If you go to ripstereducation.com, this is a big part of the teachings I've been teaching for years. Many traders have been using it. So what that means is you have to make a judgment call. I'm going to take my all profit. I'm going to leave some runners. We were looking for a flag breakout. So when it's going to be a trend day, you will see that 10 a.m. after 10 a.m. the market makes a new high. So that tells you the market makes a new high, because if you don't take the profit, then your risk is too much here. So let's take a look at QQQ calls. And if I go to the QQ calls this morning on that run, and you can trade leverage ETFs as well, doesn't really matter. So if I want to take a look at, let's take a look at 557 calls, right? So in the morning. So you see in the morning, those calls went from $1 to $2. So there was a 100% trade. You can double your money, and that's just the 9:30 to 10 a.m. trades. So that was a morning trade. That was the morning trade that you could do on that setup. And once the 10 a.m. comes, I told the traders exit on the 512 break. We cut it under the 512 breaks. You see why the rejection. Look at this. Look at what I'm showing here to the traders. Rejection, rejection. That's why I gave that target. And it worked out pretty fine, right? So if you're trading the 9:30 to 10 a.m. SPY QQQ NASDAQ ES futures, you're already done for the day, right? So you could trade the ES futures as well at that time, and it will be a successful trade. Now, if you're adding at the top of 10 a.m., then that's a problem, right? You have to be ready for that morning trade. You got to be ready for that morning trade, and you cannot be adding on the top of the resistance. I'm showing you the QQQ 557 calls 100%. So, and I'm showing you my timestamp guidance there, and we had this plan in the pre-market. You know, we had this plan in the pre-market alone, and the VIX didn't bounce. And you see that VIX started to bounce at 10 a.m. and that's when the traders took the short as well, because VIX gave the ripster curls, and the SPY was going to be inverse to that, and it's going to flush from the 10 a.m. rejection. So this is called the 10 a.m. repeatable concept. This is also one of my repeatable concept that I teach in my webinars. as a 10 a.m. short rejection setup. If you go to my webinars, you will find this exact setup. You buy the puts here. Even if you bought the puts here, right, you can do a C minus starter, and once it breaks, you can ride your puts down to the MTF clouds, and that puts also would pay you really nicely. If you want to look at, let's take a look at 620 puts, right? So you see that they ran from 90 cents to $2, another 100% trade. So there's money to be made, but you know your long is right here, your long is right here if you're scalping, and your short is here to the MTFs. So there's the opportunities, guys, and those were your two setups, and that's where's the concept of morning 9:30 into 10 a.m. concept. That's why I always tell my traders, I always tweet about it: 10 a.m., 10 a.m., 10 a.m. Wait into 10 a.m. Wait for 10 a.m. 10 a.m. trend time coming. Learn my Ripster 10 a.m. concept that nobody else will teach you. Only I have been teaching that concept for many years. Go to Ripster Education, see how traders have been using this concept on 10 a.m. trend time to change their trading. Beautiful concept, 10 a.m. trend concept. Let's go to the next one. I do want to cover, there was a midday longs as well. You see when VIX broke down under 16. The traders took the midday curls on SPY QQQ. What was it? This was the curl. I did send out some alerts on that curl. Let's take a look here. QQQs. You can see that I sent this curl alert 543.73, and from that the QQQs curled nicely. Let's take a look here. So you see that there was a curl alert, and from that curl alert 543.73 held the 3450s in this case and curled nicely. You know, you could draw like a breakout range here, and it was nicely guided by Tape. I think Tape in the community, senior trader, he was guiding these longs in the community as well on that curls, and all the traders were long on that curls, right? So they were, so that was a setup. A lot of the traders in my community traded that setup on the midday curls. So this was a chop, but you got a midday curl later in the day when VIX. Thanks, right? So that was the setup, guys. The morning longs, 10 a.m. profit taking, 10 a.m. shorts, and midday calls. Let's go to the next one. All right, so next one we're going to look at in NVIDIA. So let's take a NVIDIA. All right, so let's start with looking at NVIDIA now. So what was happening on NVIDIA, right? So what was going on in NVIDIA? So let's look here. So let's go back. So let's look at our morning plan. So China, big news out of China. You know, China is interested in 115,000 NVIDIA chips to power their data centers. Huge news. That was no small news, guys. Remember, China was a big problem for NVIDIA all this time. So the levels were 160.40, 161. My plan was that it's a little extended. I have a bullish bias. I want to long it, but I want to find a good entry. So I personally did not get in right away. But a lot of the traders in community did, and I guided them through it. So as soon as the market opened, let's go back, and I'm going to show you on the 1 minute chart what NVIDIA was doing, and I will show you my guidance as well. So as you see, right out of the gate, it was a long. Right out of the gate, it was a long, and there was so much insane flow coming in. You know, all-time high breakout. Once it breaks up 161, you can always do a starter. If you're a NVIDIA trader, then you have to be ready for that NVIDIA trade, right? You need to focus on it right out of the gate. So anyways, I told the traders there's insane amount of flow. There's a flag at 164.60, and you know, if it breaks out of that. But I also told the traders that it's going to hit 4 trillion market cap, and once it hits the 4 trillion market cap, that might be a big level to cross. So that's exactly what happened. It's sitting at 3.97 trillion market cap, but it did hit 4 trillion market cap. So that's the lesson I'm trying to teach you here. This small things do matter. You know, NVIDIA has been running. It's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. So a pullback can come anytime. So you have to watch your entries. So anyways, it was a trade. Again, it was a 9:30 to 10 a.m. trade. Wherever you added, opening ads, midday ads, even if you added 162s, your risk is still $2. You know, there was so much flow. By 10 a.m., you did hit your 164.20 level. So there was a lot of opportunity to trade it right from the open. And then what happened? Well, I gave the stops of 162.50. So then I gave the, look here, I gave the 162.50 as a pullback add level. So I gave the pullback add level that you can add at that. And look here, it came right into that 162.50 and bounced from here. But the seller was big, and you need to know that it has been running. It's not really a small low float. It's a $4 trillion company. It's not that easy that it can make $6, $7 move and make billions of dollars worth of a market cap move in a single day. So that doesn't really happen. right? But we did have a level 165.50. I gave that level in 10:30. That's your pullback level. That's your stops. That's where you can curl it. And we did curl it, right? That 162.50, it dipped under the bar, came back. We did curl it, but after that it did nothing, right? So you added 162.80, risking 30 cents. We hit to 136 30s, 163.30s, and there was a seller all day. This was a waste of time. And once it break 512, I told the traders exit. Done on it for now. Done. I'm completely done on that one. So yeah. So that was NVIDIA today. It was only the morning 9:30 a.m. temp trades, and it's been running. It's a monthly breakout. I plan to do a big webinar on this monthly, weekly, daily breakout charts, how you can learn them, analyze them, and find these opportunities. It is very important to learn your charting and analyzing when you're doing these kind of setups. All right, so let's look at next one. We have a lot to cover, and I'm taking too much time on this early place. All right, let's start by Google. Google was our long this morning. Let's see what was our plan on Google. So Google, yesterday there was a lot of sell-off. First of all, it was a day to setup. This was my high focus. I always tell the traders who come to me, excuse, hey, I can't find a trade to trade. Yes, this was your trade. You know something made a huge move to the downside yesterday. You should be on your focus. That's why we'll talk about Amazon in a bit, but Google was a day to set up. And it has an inside day, MTF, neutral to bullish bias was that. But look at this. As soon as the market opened, Google broke out of the MTF, became an MTF long right away, right here, 176 is, your stop is 50 cents. And you just take it long. You just let it work. And that's what I guided. The target was Monday's high. We hit the Monday high. Then I gave the target. Oh, sorry. Monday's high was my target. We hit Tuesday highs. We hit Monday highs. And it was nice. And again, the same thing right after 10 a.m. Google pulled back. And that's fine. Because you can't be adding the tops. It's 144% ATR. You have to be ready with what the pre-market planning I'm giving, or you need to know the MTF setups. You know, Google sold out a lot yesterday, bouncing from, what was it, 20 EMA, 20 MTF, right? And then we are MTF breakout, right? So I gave those MTF breakout as well to the traders in the morning, and was a nice little winner. Nothing too much to explain here. It's all in front of you. And pre-market planning, guidance, a lot of my guidance is on the voice, so you want to see that. So let's look at the next one. So next one we're going to look at Amazon. Same thing. Amazon was the same thing as Google. What was it? Pre-market planning, day 2 setup. That's it. Day 2 setup. Amazon had a prime day. It sold off yesterday. We were short yesterday. The plan was bullish buys versus 512 pullback over MTF. Clearly explain the setup. Right? So what happened? Right away, Amazon was an MTF long. MTF long, I gave the MTF long, it was right away, the MTF long, it started to work right away. The targets I gave were 223, 223.50, we hit those targets as well. Then the next target I gave was yesterday highs, and that target also hit by 10:10. I gave the target 955. So do you see this? This was great moves on both Amazon and Google from our MTF clouds. No hindsight, no BS. I teach MTF clouds, but I also tell you to how to trade MTF clouds. I do my live guidance. Our traders are doing the live trading. I put those setups in the pre-market alone because we are system traders. Yes, it could have failed. Then what? We would have lost. But when it works, it works. You know, it gave us 3 points there. Let's look at the options. You can check on the options here. Let's see how the options panned out. We can look at 225 calls in the morning. They ran from 170 to $3. Easy 70-80% trade there. You're risking 20% to make 70-80%. That's a good trade. But you have to be ready. These were all the morning trades, guys. These were all the morning trades. We will look at the midday trades as well, but this was the morning trades. All right, so let's look at ARM now. So let's see what ARM was doing. So ARM, we were long. Why were we long? Because NVIDIA was long. Because it had a news. Because it sold off yesterday and we wanted to capitalize on it. The level was 150. Bullish bias, long over 150, no go under 148.70. That was the plan. That was a simple plan on ARM. Right away at the morning, I told the traders to long it, or you can watch the pullbacks. Now it was not. It was another 9:30 to 10 a.m. trade, right? As long as you added in the first, in the pullbacks, you got, decent move, nothing crazy. right? So you see that morning ads pushed to 150, gave you this little pullback on 1 minute chart, again went to 152, and again it pulled back at 10 a.m. So it was nothing crazy, but like you could make a dollar, couple of dollars, but because we move our stops break even. When things start to work, we moved our stops break even. We can look at some options there as well for the option traders. Definitely was an easy trade for the stock traders. You could trade like 500 shares and get a good trade out of it. But if you see at 152.5 calls, they went from 160 to 260, nothing crazy, 50% trade. But again, if you had your stops break even, you would get out of it. Anyways, lifetime guidance here. Let's go to the next one. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of our midday calls, right? So let's start with Meta. So what was Meta doing in the morning? So Meta was insanely strong in the market, right? When I'm on the voice in the market, in the at the open, I go through all these plays and tell my traders that which stocks are really good. They already know the system, they try to trade it. Anyways, the Meta, our levels were 723.50, 724.23. So once the level started to break out, I knew it was long, and then I noticed insane amount of flow coming in. Just insane amount of flow coming in. And I was on the voice. I told the traders when this flag broke at 730, I gave them a 735 target. And we did hit 735, and then we pulled back, and there was more flow of 740. But when we pulled back here, our stops were 730. So I said exit 730s. If we break 730s, exit 730s. But it held 730. Then I gave the 512 long versus 730. Right away, when you see this swipe up, get in this candle, put out dollar stop, and get back long, make $6-7 back to the upside, right? And as it moves, you move your stops up. So you have to stay on top of the ticker you are trading. So that was our 512 curl repeatable setup. You're risking $1 and you're making $6, or risking $1.50. And if you come little late, then even then you're risking $1.50 and you're trying to make $3. That's not a bad trade, right? We can take a look at the Meta options. They're usually expensive because it's a big price stock. But let's take a look at 735s. So 735s in the morning ran from 250 all the way to 650, couple $100. And when I got this you see this is corresponding to that 730 dip on Meta. Those calls were at $4. You could add one call at $5. You could risk 20-30% on the option. You could still make $300 there on this call. If you have a small account, you just don't need too much. Just buy one call for $500. Risking $50, you're making $300, or even if you're making $200, that's a good risk to reward trade on the option. So that's how you do it. So that was Meta. All the lifetime stamp guidance right here in front of you. The morning 9:30 to 10 a.m. trade towards my target of 735. Pull back to the 730s, 512 curls, back to 737. Beautiful trade, Meta. All right, so let's look at some of our beautiful curls midday. Two trades I'm going to focus on is, let's take a look here, coin and MSTR. Okay, so what was this coin and MSTR about? So what was going on here? So guys, this was our 512 curls. Curl here. Although MSTR was a little choppy, in this case you had to respect 3450. It's your judgment call how you want to manage the trade, but I gave those both curls, 512 curls at 11 a.m. right here I gave the curls. I gave the curls on the coin, I gave the curls on MSTR. MSTR of course was kind of double topped and pulled back and broke out middle of the day. That's where you have to watch the Bitcoin. And not to mention that we provide these crypto levels for our traders to watch those breakouts right here to stay long. But because if you see Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was breaking out midday, so Bitcoin. So why? So I can talk a little bit about that initial curl that I gave. So you see the curl was at 359. And a target I gave was 365, 368. I gave two targets. I moved the stops at 360. Coin ran there to 369. MSTR didn't really work that way. But again, when 512 and 3450 are so close, 3450 is your final line of defense, right? So even coin dipped under and reclaimed because there was a support here. Right? So you could hold a lot of traders in the community. They held all the way, because this is how you have to manage and make your own judgment calls with the system. Rob was on top of it. Raj was on top of it. Amazing traders in the community. They were on top of these setups. And now why did it happen? Because if you are trading without Bitcoin, guys, it's not going to work for you. You need to know that the Bitcoin is breaking out middle of the day So the coin is going to break out as well. And a Bitcoin is setting up for another breakout. So we will be focusing on them in coming days. So midday trades, guys. So these are the midday trades that I'm showing you. I showed you the meta curls. I show you the coin curls. And the reason I teach is not that because that you just think, oh, it's so easy. No, you focus on what you want to trade. If you're a midday trader, look at those high probability midday setups. Get closer into the clouds, get closer to the MTF clouds, right? Don't try to trade everything. All right, so that was our Bitcoin MSTR. That's how you trade with the clouds and watching the Bitcoin. Beautiful long trades from 11 a.m. idea for the community. All right, so I'm going to go a little fast through the rest of these plays. Let's look at Circle. Circle long for us did not really work. I mean, it would work. You can say it worked if you were pretty fast, but it stopped us right out when it was a long right out of the gate, pushed to 215, pulled back, we stopped out of 208, took a loss and moved on, right? We had our 208 stops which hit, so a couple of dollars lost there on Circle, and because that was the drop. That's why our system helps us to manage those losers. All right, let's look at another one that we did not work on the long side. It was a loser for us, was OKLO. But the good thing about OKLO is you could short it. So the traders in the community were shorting it. Why? Because the long didn't work and it rejected the MTF clouds and you shorted right away from versus the MTFs. Beautiful trade. Beautiful trade, right? OKLO. Let's look at OKLO. So OKLO, right? So OKLO was our long, failed, we got out, did give it a call, but you need to change your bias with the system. That's how you do it. If the long doesn't work, you try the shorts under the yesterday lows, MTF, beautiful system. All right, let's look at next one. Next one we're going to look at is Netflix. Netflix, I just want to point out the pre-market planning and see what was the pre-market planning on Netflix. Pre-market planning on Netflix was, let's take a look here. 20 MTF bounced yesterday. What does that mean? That means 2021 EMA bounce on daily chart. If the market's strong, look for recovery. Look for recovery, and Microsoft did give you that recovery in the morning from 3450 towards the MTF cloud, rejects the MTF clouds, right? So I'm just trying to point out when something bounces from the 20 MTF and last day it's a huge sell-off, you focus it on the day two. So that was a Netflix there. Let's go through a few quick other trades here. MBLY, which was an earning play for us. Let's see what the planning on MBLY. Planning on MBLY is no trend yet. Wait to see versus 18. That was the plan. Just wait to see what it does versus 18. It kind of pushed on the amateur move, right? Hit this resistance and then trend move became bearish. And in middle of the day, it gave you a short. Why? Cut here, short under the MTF, right to the next MTF magnet setup. So that was MBLY. Beautiful trade. So next one was UNH. So what was UNH doing? UNH was a short today. Let's take a look at the pre-market planning. UNH DOG investigation on medical bills. Bearish buys to short the pops. As long as there is a 300, under the these cloud 3 or 4s, it's a short. And nothing like it was easy short. Just take the short, let it work, cover at 300, couple of dollars on the short side. So that was good. All right, let's look at some other setups from the pre-market. Dell was another one. It was bullish buys too long versus MTF. That's the planning I gave in the pre-market. Resistance was 125. And as you see, it was not that great of trend in the morning, but you see the MTF, held the MTF and ran all day with the market. So that's the power of the MTF clouds on these setups that you can trade. All right, so let's look at some other setups here. Let's look at Starbucks. So Starbucks was gap and crap. Let's take a look on the pre-market planning. The pre-market planning I gave on Starbucks was extended in the pre-market. Cautious if the 512 break, fade first. So I already had a feeling that it will fade, and that's exactly what I did. And it faded, and Starbucks was a short right out of the gate. 512 gap and crap. Shorted by the puts. Hold the puts, take it to the MTF, make your profit, and move on. All right. So let's look at some other setups which were not really my guidance, but I want to talk about FUTU. The reason I want to talk about FUTU is it was a daily chart and it was an upgrade. There was too many names upgraded today, so it kind of messed up my plan a little. But FUTU was upgraded by Morgan Stanley. Whenever somebody upgrades with the tier 1, and if there's a daily breakout, you see FUTU was a daily breakout 130, 142, so right here, so you take it long, right? So I was not on it, but a lot of traders are on FUTU. Trader Price talked about the daily breakout, weekly breakout. Avinash talked about the weekly breakout. So you see that there's a weekly breakout. When you see this breakout, and I think Mr. Sam was on it as well, it's A plus setup. So I'm going to talk about this breakout setups in a webinar, but things to learn here is there's a catalyst and there's a technical setup, and you take it long. I think a target I gave on FUTU, I was on voice, was 141. It went actually further to the target I gave to the traders on that as well. All right, let's look at something else. Boeing was pretty good. Let's look at Boeing. So Boeing was a long, and then there's a 512 midday curl, right? Again, the midday curl setup. Remember, we talked about the same setup on Meta. So exactly the same setup that happened there. So another one, let's take a look at PLTR. PLTR was a top day 2 setup. PLTR double bounced on the MTFs, ran later in the day. So anyways, hopefully you guys learned about this in our morning trades and the midday curls, how to do this. Hopefully this video helps you. Maybe you can trade these setups yourself. Keep learning. Take care. See you tomorrow.